All right, welcome to this week's edition of Working Title. As all of you know, my name's Zach because I have never once ever had a person on here that doesn't know who I am. So that's fun. As always, going to be talking a lot about, movies, television, things of that nature. And I have a lot of questions for you guys today as well. So get your thinking caps on. We can definitely talk about some stuff, discuss some different things. So off the bat, I always like to invite some people in on this, get some chat going, and hopefully you guys enjoy what I have to talk about. All right. So hope everybody's doing well. All right, awesome. Already got a few viewers. Hey, DQ, Boston, Dan. I have David and Soup in house, so I might yell at them occasionally, just so you guys know. They might yell up at me occasionally, but hopefully we have a good time. So again, got a lot of questions for you guys this episode. Hopefully get some good interaction going. But my first topic of the day, it's very sad news. I'm very disappointed. Big Bang Theory is going to end after season 12. Oh no. I actually know that most people do not care about this. Big Bang Theory it's not controversial because you have to do something to make it controversial. It's just split. People either love it or they hate it. It's, as Soup says, it's a show. So they're ending. Apparently the guy who plays Sheldon is like, I'm done with this crap after 12 years of doing it. What always gets me with like shows like this though is like what are any of those guys going to do after this? Like most of them didn't have careers before this, and most of them. So yeah, they've all been in different stuff. What's his name? The guy who plays Leonard has probably had the most success historically because he was on Roseanne, and then they're doing like that Roseanne show without Roseanne now, so he's got stuff. Yeah, I mean they've made a ridiculous amount of money. I think the last like 3 seasons they've made like $1 million each episode or something like that. But that's one of those things. It's like after this they're gonna not make money anymore, and I feel like a few of them are gonna come back in like 3 or 4 years and be like, hey, this was a bad decision, can we go back to doing that again? Whoops. All right. Okay, so question I have for you guys is we're not in a great era for sitcoms right now, so I want you to shout out, okay, what do you think is the worst live action sitcom currently on television, and what you think is the best live action sitcom? I say live action just because animation tends to stick around a lot longer than live action sitcoms. You know, we can throw out, Family Guy, The Simpsons is still on literally after 30 years, all these different things, but those tend to just be much longer running shows in general. Boston says they got the spin off of Young Sheldon. Yeah, that looks terrible. Never watched it, but that looks terrible. Is Kevin Can Wait still on? Is that a thing? Is I don't know. I don't know. Man, that just garbage television right now. And people wonder why, like nobody has cable anymore. Well, maybe if you had literally any kind of good TV. Well, I suppose that's all local channels though. Or cheaper, true story. Even like Netflix doesn't seem to be able to get the sitcom thing right. Like Glow's about as close as you have to a Netflix sitcom, and that's just about as much of a drama as anything. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, but like that was, I watched the first 2 seasons and I really kind of fell off of it from there. DQ says the worst is Young Sheldon. I've never watched it. It looked like garbage. And says the best is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. What I had, so I watched a few episodes of Mom like 2 or 3 weeks back, and it's like, if that's the standard of sitcoms, like, and I think that's one of the better sitcoms is the problem, and it's still garbage. Like the laugh track and the forced jokes, and oh my gosh, it's just the worst. So yeah, DQ says Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Boston says Shameless. Game of Thrones doesn't really count. Shameless is an hour-long drama, but it still kind of plays out like a sitcom. It's just a little more dark because there's comedy aspects to it. Sitcom technically means situational comedy. That's where it comes from. So the ones I said was Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, still on, and then Silicon Valley. But the problem with those three is I think those three are the best. Those three are also probably getting towards the end of their lifespan. Always Sunny's in its 13th season, and one of the main guys, not the guy who plays Mac. Yeah, Glenn Howerton isn't in this season, apparently. Yeah, I think the guy that plays Dennis is not in this season for some reason. I don't know. And then Silicon Valley only's got one season left. And although I was happy, who picked up Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Was that NBC? Although I'm looking forward to that continuing. Generally speaking, when shows transfer or switch, they don't really last long after that. So, yeah, Fox, agreed. Fox picked up Last Man Standing. Again, okay show, but not great. I don't know if you guys watch it at all. It's definitely, yeah, it's just okay. And again, if that's the standard we have for sitcoms, like that's a pretty low bar. So I kind of missed like the good old days. The mid 2000s was like the rocking era of sitcoms. You know, literally all at the same time, you had The Office, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock. You towards the end of Scrubs, but Scrubs was still on. How I Met Your Mother and Community were all on at the same time. Like those are some of the better sitcoms in the last, like literally in my lifetime, I think. And they all happened at relatively the same time. So I really want to get back to that. I like sitcoms a lot. They're like my favorite type of show, that and animated adult comedy. So yeah. How would you describe animated adult cartoons? Like that sounds worse. Somebody give me a better way to describe that, because I don't know how to describe it without sounding pervy. Grown-up cartoons. That sounds worse. That adult in front of anything. My mom Googled adult coloring books one time because my sister likes to color, and I'm like, that's not gonna turn out well. And she's like, yeah, I found some weird stuff. I was like, yeah, you can't put adult in front of things. It ruins it. All right. So that was a fun conversation. All right. So moving on. Next topic. I only have a few topics tonight. Mostly wanted to just get people's input on stuff. So Tom Hardy is actually under contract for 3 Venom movies, including this one coming out in October. So that's cool. So yes, at least a trilogy in that. And it wouldn't surprise me if it goes well, if he shows up a few other places. So the question in regards to this topic, this one's a little more complicated, so put your thinking caps on, is what movie that doesn't have a sequel or prequel needs one? What movie that doesn't have a sequel or prequel needs one? So let me know. Comment here. So Sony is already doubling down on the success of Venom, actually. I think we all probably have similar attitudes on this, like optimistically cautious. Yeah, cautiously optimistic is probably what we would say here. That being said, apparently the box office numbers are already showing, the box office projections, I should say, is that Venom could be very good and potentially even break October records. Now, October is typically not a huge month for movies. What happens is you have, end of March through July-ish are your like premiere movie months. And then, August, September, October are kind of your dip, and then back up in November and December, you start hitting on bigger ones again. So yeah, kind of optimistic about that, but we'll see what happens. Even Tom Hardy said this is all based on how the first movie does. And so the thing is with movies, as always, it doesn't matter if it's crap. If it makes money, they will make other ones. So yeah, I expect him to make more movies, and that's cool. I'm glad glad that they're potentially going to have some success in that regard and, you know, breaking off from the Spider-Man universe. What I've said all along is twofold. We don't know what the R or the rating is going to be for it. I'm kind of hoping it's R or, you know, at least a darker PG-13, but R would be preferred. And then I hope Spider-Man shows up in it at some point in time, or at least reference him. You got to at least reference him. I think that's a necessity. All right, so cool. So again, the question is, what movie that doesn't have a sequel or prequel needs one immediately? I have several. Oh, Dan, you're a man after my own heart. The newest King Arthur. Freaking love that movie. That movie was not very good. I'm willing to admit that, but it was a guilty pleasure of mine. I very much enjoyed it. And Dan, I'm going to talk about that a little later, so I'll get back into that. DQ says Dread. Completely agree. That movie was kick-ass. That movie was awesome. That's up there for like dark. That's up there with Logan for like dark action superhero or comic book movies, I should say. It's not really a superhero. It's more comic book. It is not. Get out of here with your Stallone one. Carl Urban is the shiz. So I had a few. Soup's going to like one, and Soup's not going to like another one. Mad Max Fury Road definitely needs a sequel. Soup didn't like the Mad Max Fury Road that much. He's like, yeah, car chases for 2 hours. Yay. Hey, they stopped occasionally. All right, we're going to start up again. Going to start going. I loved it. I think it was, but, you know, that goes back to Soup's not a big fan of action movies, so there you go. That wasn't my problem. My problem was yeah, there wasn't any dialogue in The Quiet Place, and you like that. Boom. Completely different scenario. I agree. Yeah. Yes, winner. DQ says Power Rangers. Get out of here. And Kazam was his next thing. That was the shack where he's a genie or whatever. That definitely needs to happen. Ooh, Space Jam 2 with LeBron. Yeah. They've been talking about it for years, but I don't think. Okay. Completely off topic. So the original Space Jam, you had Charles Barkley, the guy from the Knicks. Why can't I remember his name? Patrick Ewing. And who is the small guy for the Hornets? Muggsy Bogues. And there's a big, tall white guy. Yes, thank you. Sean Bradley. Soup got them all. Sean Bradley, Muggsy Bogues, Patrick Ewing, and Charles Barkley. We're all in that movie. So if this is, I love this question of, if you would do it today, so LeBron would probably be it. Who is the other four guys that lose their powers, though, if it was just a complete reboot and not like a sequel? Four Timberwolves guys. Towns, Wiggins, Butler. Oh, awesome. Well, grab the microphone, man. It's sitting there. All right, so I had a couple others for movies that need sequels. I think you'll like this one. An actual Prometheus sequel. Not Alien Covenant, an actual Prometheus sequel. Alien Covenant was not a sequel. It was kind of like an offshoot to the side. But the problem is they've already established that. Like, I think you could put a movie in between Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and it'd still be fairly interesting. Yeah. Like Soup said, if you didn't hear him, Prometheus like left off, made you think it was going in a certain direction, and just completely garbage timed it. And I liked Alien Covenant. It was a perfectly fine movie as its own movie. It wasn't great. It was okay, but that's not what the expectation was when we got, you know, when we went to Alien Covenant. We thought we were going to get more of, what was her name? Shaw. I think was her, the Dr. Shaw, whatever her name
and
was.
Literally the whole movie just kind of set up like, hey, we're going to explain how this all happened. And look, we're going over here now. We'll see you in a few. And then let's just make another Alien movie.
Yeah, just doing a different Alien movie. And the last one I had for movies that need a prequel or sequel immediately is I said A Quiet Place. My reasoning here is I love that movie. It was a great movie. I need to watch it again. I recently bought it on digital. Need to watch it again. But I loved that they did kind of the opposite of horror movies. Instead of focusing on the monster or the situation, they focused on the family. And that's what made it great. But now that we have that great movie, now I am kind of curious about, I want to know what happened. I want to know where these creatures came from. I want to know what the first few days and weeks were like. Like, that sounds intriguing to me. So I don't know.
Like Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah. It also, agree. It also feels like it would be terrible because like Michael Bay would do it and it would just be garbage. But I still want to see somebody's idea.
I don't think you can do it unless you focus on another family.
Yeah, that's understandable. Like going to a city, focus on a family, and then kill them all. So going back, Dan says District 9. They set that up for a sequel. They did.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like Neil Blomkamp. I just don't. He's so political in his agenda with his movies. It's not even like subtle. It's just basically a big slap in the face of, oh hey, you know, apartheid in South Africa? We're going to do that with aliens. Like, okay.
That should be a solid clip right there.
So yeah, I mean, it was totally set up that way, and if you want it, that's great. I just wasn't my favorite movie, and it probably should have happened because I think that movie was generally fairly successful. DQ, I don't know about Power Rangers. They might do it. It depends on how successful it was. I have no idea how successful.
Did you see that? I just still didn't know.
Is it on HBO right now? It might be. I don't know. It's on Amazon. That's what it's on. I don't know. Kazam, I literally haven't seen Kazam in probably 25 years.
I bet it holds up.
Blue Chips. That's a football movie.
Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal. But it's basketball. Anthony Hardaway's in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Don't you want to see a movie today with Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal in it?
No, I don't.
Just to see what like after he washed out of the pros, now they have like an apartment together or something, and his hair is just stuck. I don't know. Kind of.
All right. So final topic with question is Guardians 3 production, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I should say. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has been put on hold while they're finding another director. All right.
I'm going to sign Darren's petition. I want them to get Kazam right also.
So anyone that's watching that isn't potentially looking at the comments, DQ says Blue Chips is all right, but I could do with a better one. And I want them to get Kazam right.
I just have a brilliant idea.
Kazam.
Let's squash them together. Nick Nolte shows up and teaches Kazam how to be. That's the genie one, right?
Yes.
We gotta wait a while. Let's just work that in where like they just kind of do both.
Out of all the movies, like you don't want Suicide Squad, right? Or any of the DC movies. You want Kazam. Your priorities are in order, DQ.
Right.
I'm gonna say that. Get that stuff right.
It's not like Ziggy Wolf talking about Adrian Peterson.
Get it right.
We're going to get it right.
Oh, good episode today. Lots of fun.
That's the best thing Darren ever said.
All right, so getting back to the final topic, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 production is on hold while finding another director. So the question in regards to this topic is, what movie would have immediately been better with a different director? Don't overthink it. Just think of a bad movie that you think could have been better and just tell me and we'll talk about it. I have different answers. If you have a specific director you think would have been good for a specific picture, let me know. We can definitely talk about that as well. Anyways, as most of you probably already know, this happened a couple weeks back. It was announced recently that James Gunn was fired and then would not be rehired by Disney after a bunch of old tweets came out that were insensitive. I'm not going to get into the topic of that, of what I think should have happened. The tweets were horrible. That's what I'll say. But that being said, who hasn't said horrible things? Like, it just, I mean, Disney themselves did a lot
Tim
of
Tebow.
horrible racist movies back in the day. And yeah, people got weird stuff in their past. Anyways, a lot of fans and even the actors in the movie, there was an uproar about it. There was a lot of clamoring. They wanted to get him back. Disney has decided, nope, we're not bringing him back. So we have to find a new director for Guardians Volume 3, because obviously all these movies need to be done in threes. So the early steam is, and good news for you, Soup, is director Taika Waititi recently had a meeting with Marvel, and he was the director of Thor Ragnarok, about directing another film. Now, nothing has been released, nothing has been said, but the early steam is he's kind of, quote unquote, a front runner. And regardless of what Soup says, I think Thor Ragnarok felt the most like the Guardians movie, so I don't think that would be a horrible choice.
I was actually just going to say that. I feel like that's way more of a better fit, is him doing Guardians, because that's what it's supposed to be. So
yeah,
I feel like that's almost perfect.
I mean, our disagreement is not over necessarily like him as a director, just him directing Thor. Like, yeah, I like
it was
Thor
a weird
Ragnarok,
tone change,
but it was a very drastic tone change. Like Thor, I think they were like, we don't know how Thor should feel. So, like, is he serious? Is he a jokester? We're just gonna full on. He's gonna be a jokester from now on.
Yeah, I think it was as simple as just the second one didn't do well as well as they thought it would, and our funny ones seemed to hit home runs. So they just let's just do Guardians, but with Thor. That's kind of how it felt.
Yeah. So actually, I know DQ's actually brought this up. He thought that Taika Waititi would be actually a good fit for this. I do as well. I think that would be tonally much better fit for him, and honestly, Thor Ragnarok even looked like Guardians of the Galaxy at many points, just because it was so much held in space and everything like that. So that's the early scene. So getting back to what movie would have immediately been better with a different director. Getting Terminator Genesis. Never saw it. David, did you actually see it, or are you just marking that down?
I think we saw it together. It's bad. And I love Terminator, and it was...
Okay, so it was PG-13. How did that... I feel like that couldn't have helped the situation.
It went exactly how you would think a movie like that would go. But, yeah.
All right, what about... Well, I'm going to dig into this now. What about Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor? Nope.
No.
I love her in Game of Thrones.
But that's who she is.
But generally, even in Game of Thrones, she's not a spectacular actress. She's very cute. I'll give her that. But yeah, she's not a spectacular actress. I also like Jason Clarke, but I assume he probably wasn't great in that.
He wasn't bad. His character was terrible.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons was in it. Well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says. All right. So good news is, David, James Cameron is taking Terminator over again, and they're doing a reboot. And last I heard of it, they were in production. And who's the original? Linda Hamilton is back in it. So it's going to be a little more female driven. Again, let me see here. I'm going to pull it up just because I'm on IMDb currently. Tim Miller, who directed the first Deadpool movie, brought it back, is directing it, and then James Cameron is producing, I believe, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is, huh?
The director of Deadpool is making a Terminator movie?
Yeah, Tim Miller. I believe Tim Miller directed the first one. Mackenzie Davis is in it. Yeah, she was in Blade Runner 2049. She was the prostitute. That was a weird thing to bring up. But yeah, she's in it. Arnold's coming back. They better just motion capture him. He's just so old. He's just too old, guys. All right, so I'm gonna bring up a few that I thought of. Hancock. I said basically I think it could have been a better movie with a different director. So the original director was Peter Berg. What Peter Berg is known for is doing a lot of movies with Mark Wahlberg. So Lone Survivor, this new movie Mile 22, Deepwater, whatever. Yeah, the oil one. He did the one with the Boston Marathon shooting or bombing. But in general, he's known for like crime/war drama movies, and you put him in a lighthearted. You put him as a director as like a lighthearted superhero movie, like it didn't feel like that was a good choice. I don't like handcuffing guys too much, but most directors obviously have a specific genre that they're good with. Quit it. So I said I thought Bryan Singer would have been a better one. Bryan Singer's had a good history with the X-Men movies. Some of them have been better than others, obviously, but the X-Men movies, just like most superhero movies, know when to be serious, know when to be more lighthearted. I think he would have made that movie a little better with that. If Dan, if you're still watching, I'm bringing it back. I said King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. I thought Peter Jackson would have been a much better decision over the director, Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie, again, is a guy. Yeah, he's a guy that historically has done, British crime dramas, and they've always had a very specific type of humor to them as well. Like, again, don't want to say Guy Ritchie can't do other things, but he's proven to me that he is best at that one particular thing. And Peter Jackson has also proven to me that he is really good at one particular thing, which is fantasy movies. Although the Hobbit movies were bah. Yeah, agreed.
He's made a few like really bad.
Here's a weird one. Speaking of Guy Ritchie, he's doing the live action Aladdin movie. Like, that seemed like the weirdest hire. Just, that's even worse than like King Arthur. You don't even put him in.
I don't know why, but I'm oddly excited about that.
Well, you grew up the same time I did. Aladdin was like.
No, but the weird directing choice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited for the guys from Game of Thrones to do the Sword and the Stone movie. That's what I'm excited for. Like, yeah, give me a dark Sword and the Stone movie. And then I said The Dark Tower. Literally anyone could have done it better. I could have done it better. Soup definitely could have done it better. Just yelling
And
at
I didn't even read it, and
McConaughey.
I bet I could do better.
Just screaming at Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba. Do be better.
Take off your shirt.
That would have that by itself. If Idris Elba would have taken off his shirt, that would have made that movie 5 times as good. I know we've had the argument about rating system, like a 10-star rating system. I rated that movie a 3. Like, that was the worst movie I saw last year. It was garbage.
So like a F-.
Yeah.
Or
Like, I almost never go below a 4, but I rated that movie a 3. Like, it was bad. So the director, literally, you've never heard of him. I'd never heard of anything he had done before that. He's like a Danish director, never done anything. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I could have directed it better. The writing, I'll give him credit. The writing was horrible. Whoever wrote it needs to be slapped, and then his mom needs to be slapped as well. I'm assuming it was a guy.
they need to get a time machine and go back and take him away from her when he's a kid.
Yeah. But yeah, it was garbage. So what really made me mad is while we're doing research on this, I found out that this movie was at one point in time came across J.J. Abrams' desk. Like, oh my gosh, Abrams is one of the best movie makers right now. Like, to me, it's like 4 or 5 really good directors, and Abrams is one of them. Him, Nolan,
Yep.
What guy? Denis Villeneuve. He is also one of them. I would count him as one. I love frickin' Edgar Wright as well, but I know most people wouldn't count him as like an elite director. I just like what he does.
Joel Schumacher.
Get the hell out of here. He made bat nipples. Like, that was a thing that he did. I like to think like in the script it didn't have that in there, and he's like, no, you need to put like in parentheses close up on the bat nipples. Thanks, guy.
Just sell toys.
you know, for marketing. It needs more sex appeal for the children. Damn it.
This might be the best episode ever. They're just gonna cut the whole thing up into sound bites.
Yeah, it's not okay. All right. So, DQ brings up Green Lantern. I have no idea who directed Green Lantern. It was trash too. Let me find that trash movie. Martin Campbell. I don't know. Martin Campbell is most famous for he directed Goldeneye and The Mask of Zorro and Vertical Limit and Casino Royale.
I actually like all of movies.
Vertical Limit, I remember I was so excited for that. It looked so cool, and it was okay, but it was mostly disappointing. Drew says, careful, James Cameron. Hey.
Careful, James Gunn.
Or yeah, James Gunn. Sorry, I got James Cameron on my mind. Careful, James Gunn. You be careful. I don't have a response to that. All right. Well.
Oh no, they might fire you from your show.
Yeah. Facebook might take me off the Facebook. I don't know how that works. How horrible do you have to be to get kicked off of Facebook? Because I feel like it's significantly worse than this. But you never know. People don't like the kid jokes. I'm not going to go any further than that. All right. Well, this was fun. I enjoyed this one a lot. I'm going to have to upload this to YouTube. Good times. Haven't watched it, definitely watch it back if you didn't see the full thing. Definitely start from the beginning. It was good throughout. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for watching. I appreciate it much. And everybody have a great Sunday evening. Bye.